Hey guys, welcome to Rising Stars. I'm your interim host, Sean Watt. This production is sponsored by Urban Eats MTL. Michael will be back in the future to take over the hosting responsibilities. I'm proud to announce our next guest, Mary.
Hi, nice to
How
meet you,
are
Sean.
you?
I'm very good, thanks.
It's an absolute pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah? So tell me, are you from Montreal?
I am.
You are? Okay.
Yes, I was born in Montreal.
Born and raised?
Yeah.
Okay. Acting, how did you get into it?
I can't say I was one that grew up and said I want to be an actor. I kind of fell into it later in my life after doing many different jobs and different careers.
Was there a moment where you sort of fell into it?
Yeah,
Like something that
it
you
was, I remember very clearly, it was 2017. I know a girl that does community theater.
Okay.
And at that time in my life, I said, oh, let me see if they need a volunteer backstage to help out. And so she used to actually be my neighbor when I was a little kid. And I reached out to her, and she said, you know what, Mary, I want to offer you a role. I said, really? Like, I'm not really an actor. And she said, it's a small role, excuse me. And I did, and then I fell in love with acting from that moment. Yeah. It was tough because, I mean, you know, it was something very new to me, but it was a very small role, not that many lines.
What was the role? Do you remember?
Actually, the play was about putting on a play.
Okay.
And I was the stage manager. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
how did you get into that role without having experience from training? Like, where do you even start?
I don't know. I kind of did it, and you know, the feedback was very good. And from that role, then I got like bigger roles, and that's how I started in community theater. And I did 4 plays with her.
Wow.
Yeah, and the last one being almost the lead. And then I said, you know, I really love this, and then I started taking acting classes.
Okay, so you waited a few productions, and then you're like, you know what, I'm gonna pursue.
Well, I did every one. Like, she would do one every 3 months, so I did them consecutively. Yeah. And then I said, I want to pursue this, especially in theater. So I fell in love with acting at that time.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I want to pursue this, and I started taking classes, and I haven't stopped since then.
Where have you taken classes?
Oh my God, I started with the first one is I went to workshop Tom Todoroff.
Yeah.
And then I performed for him here in Montreal.
Yeah, because you can audit that, or you can be a performer.
So I did a
right?
performance.
So,
I did a monologue, which was, oh my God, I remember I was a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
And you know, knowing who he is, and when I saw like the other ones that he's very tough on everybody. Yeah. Anyway, he went well, and then I did 1 week conservatory in New York with Tom.
Okay.
And then I came back to Montreal, and I've done many classes. Strayon, I've done Suzanne Lemire, I did MSOPA, I've done also Triple Threat Academy, which I've done a number of improv classes, which were a riot.
Yeah, improv's great. I think it's so much fun.
It was like I discovered so much about myself in the improv classes, as well as under them I also did, it's a classes on mask.
Yeah.
And you pick a mask in the beginning of the class, and then, you know, it's like for 6 weeks, and you develop the character.
So
you become the person.
Yeah.
And you pick, and it was amazing. I've learned so much about acting. Just
what mask did you end up picking?
You pick the person's names. I was Lady Penelope back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And so.
How did you end up preparing for that role? Did you like sort of do your research? Did you have some knowledge about it?
I did some research, and I myself developed the character. And I have to say, not to pat myself on the back, but they were quite impressed with it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. It's just like you become this other person, and you know, if it's something like, I don't have to be nervous about it, and I wasn't, so it was a lot of fun. So I keep taking classes. I think you can't stop. I mean, it's the only way.
No, and then there's also stuff that you can do at home as well, right? To help with the voice and things like that.
Oh yeah, voice. I've done voiceover as well. And
is there any acting exercises that you could recommend to someone to do on a daily basis, for example? For anyone who's watching this, who's like, you know what?
You know, do something every day, even if it takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, listen to yourself. Like, pick like even just reading something off the internet or the newspaper, whatever, and say it out loud. And I do that. It's like for me, and also, breathing exercises, because sometimes I have a tendency of getting very nervous for auditions. So that's what I have to learn. Like, now it's the world of self-tapes.
Yeah.
My problem is that I'm so hard on my own self that I'll do that till, I don't know. It's like people, they've told me, the coaches, don't do it more than 3 times.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
It's like, and it ends up being the first or the second is the best one, but, I'll do it like maybe 10 times because I'm not happy with it. That's a good thing about self-tapes. That you're not as nervous as being in front of a director.
The one bad thing about self-tapes that I don't enjoy is hearing myself.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's horrendous. I'm like, that's what I sound like?
Yeah. I don't like my own voice. I know.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
No, it's awful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can recommend just doing like quick little skits.
Like even just like and breathing exercises are very important.
Articulation, right?
Take 5 minutes out of your day and it helps a lot. So I usually do that and in the morning, like before I start my day.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about theater, film and television. Have you taken, classes in particular for that?
Yeah, I've done a lot of scene work.
Yeah.
Through different.
So what kind of roles do you end up playing?
Well, looks like at my age now, I seem to be getting the mother roles all the time.
Okay.
I've done
so
a lot.
typecast.
I've done a lot of mother roles. The bad person, the nice person. What else?
What's a role that you haven't maybe received but you'd love to do?
I'd love to have a role where I'm inspirational and.
In what way? Spiritually?
Especially being a woman and an older woman, like I believe that don't give up, like be strong with who you are. And as you get older, you discover more about yourself. And and I find that you're more confident about yourself. When I was 25, I was like, you worry about everybody else and what they're going to think. But now at my age now, I'm much more confident. And I would love to do roles where somebody gets something out of it, and I have some form of impact.
So it's sort of like Karate Kid, where like Jackie Chan's character, he's mentoring, the Karate Kid, right? And then it shows sort of the impact of his development and becoming, this master of his craft, so to speak, right? So something similar like this?
Yeah, to make a difference somehow.
Maybe that's a great way for you to start writing.
Yeah.
Come up with the idea yourself. There are plenty of tutorials that you can watch online to do script writing.
And I also love comedy.
Yeah? Anything in particular? Series, movie?
Let's see. Well, I finished watching Curb My Enthusiasm, which is hilarious. And believe it or not, like even through my improv classes, the acting coach said to me, you're really funny.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize I was funny. So, you learn things about yourself. But
I find people who are funny are the ones that try not to be funny.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like,
I didn't even know I
be
was funny.
you.
It's just the way I am and whatever comes out of my mouth, I don't know.
There was a time where when I was in high school, I was growing up with a friend who wanted to be a comedian, but he kept trying to crack the jokes at you all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that was him just trying to refine and hone his own craft, but it got to a point where it got very annoying.
Yeah.
Because I just want to have a conversation with you, and you're just trying to make, try to be funny.
Right.
It's not the way to go about it.
Well, you have to do it unintentional. That's the best time,
Or sporadic or whatever, right? So it was just, he was missing all the marks, so to speak.
Yeah, so I would love to do something in comedy.
Yeah.
If I had the opportunity.
Would you prefer a series or a movie if you had to choose?
A series, I guess.
Why?
Just
Just
you get
because
paid for longer? No, I don't know.
Or
I
you can
guess,
just get the large sum at once for a film?
Either one, I wouldn't be picky if I had the opportunity.
It's heartbreaking because I'm noticing now, I'm reading a lot of articles that theaters are starting to close down.
I know.
Hugh Grant's theater in England, in the UK, he said it just closed down around him. But when you have that much wealth, can't you just purchase the theater yourself?
Yeah, true.
but he didn't do it, or he didn't find investment partners to do it. Where do you think the future of cinema is going to be?
Oh boy, it's I think a very tough business. Especially, do people go to the theater anymore?
They do, actually. I mean, I was reading articles online where all the comments were saying people prefer to go to the theater for the experience itself.
Are you talking about like plays, or are you talking about
No,
to
like
go watch
to
a
go
movie?
watch a movie. People, from the
Yeah.
comments that I'm reading, they're saying, "Oh, it's a shame because I want to go there instead of just staying at home and trying to
know.
find something
Yeah.
to stream for an hour or two."
Well, I think a
right?
lot has to do with money as well, where you stream it at home and you have your own popcorn or whatever, and it can get expensive to go to the movie. So maybe that's, but I don't know. For the future, it would be a shame because the experience of going on a big screen and
I mean, the screen
watching
like that's
it
amazing.
on TV, especially if it's an action movie or, it's not the same thing. So
No.
hopefully it won't die out. A
No,
lot of things have changed.
no, I heard you're trying to upgrade even like the theater system itself. So going from like 4D, 3D
Yeah.
to 4D, and I think there's even 8D or something like that, where it's like they're trying to enhance the sense of smell
Yeah, I heard
into
that
your
too.
experience.
Yeah.
And they started doing trials for that, and I don't know how I feel about that in particular. How do you feel about that? Something where you're watching something and you can smell, and is that odd? Is it weird?
It is weird.
It's very
It's
weird.
weird because it's like you're not expecting it, or
Yeah.
it's.
Or you're
no,
thinking maybe it's the person sitting next to you.
sometimes something
Like-
shouldn't be touched. I think and just leave it as is. Like,
Yeah,
But I guess they were trying different things. But
I think they're just trying to revive it.
yeah,
I
well, they
think
need
they're-
more people to start going back to, the theaters.
Problem is, it's social media, it's TikTok, it's YouTube Premium, right? Then you have Amazon Prime,
I
you have
know.
Netflix, and you have Hulu, and you have Crave, and Tubi, and you have Crunchyroll, and
Yeah.
how many streaming devices are there
There's
going to be at
just
this
too much.
point?
But
Yeah.
on a positive note, the good thing is that it's given actors a lot of opportunities.
It is.
Not a lot of work with all these shows on. So
Yeah, yeah,
And even for like voiceover for some of the dubbing that's been done,
yeah.
in English. So
Have you done voiceover?
I've taken classes and I've
Okay.
actually done a few auditions for it, but nothing's panned
Anything in
out.
particular? Was it for a video game
I've done
series?
yes, exactly,
Yeah.
and it's hard. I mean,
It's harder
I've
than it
done
looks.
video game, so they give you a synopsis of it and what the
Character breakdown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I have the voice or whatever. I'm not trained in any of that, but I mean, I've submitted the auditions. But
Yeah. There was a
Trying.
few that I had that were extremely complex. So it was for a video game at Ubisoft.
Yeah.
And one of it was, okay, you have 5 different emotional ranges that you have to do. So one of them is you just got shot, you're wounded, make like the grunting noise. One is like yelling after a grenade goes off.
Yeah.
Another one was scream like you're on fire and you're dying. That's
Wow.
intense. I mean,
Yeah.
how can you do that
I
in
know.
your own space at home?
I know that's
You
tough.
can't.
It's
You
very
can't
tough.
because you're worried about what neighbors are going to think. So I always undervalued that audition, because I didn't feel comfortable in my own personal space doing that.
Yeah.
Neighbors are going to get annoyed. What the heck's going on, right? Right? I mean, if I heard someone with a death-defying scream,
Yeah.
it's very disturbing,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
right? So I think some of those auditions, I think you're probably better off going in person. And
Yeah.
for those voiceover auditions, I've never had to go in person to do it.
Well, they've all
Ever.
been online, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you prefer in-person or self-tape auditions?
I think a little bit of both. I mean,
Okay.
I don't mind. I've done a few Zoom auditions, so
Yeah, those are weird though. Those are
it's a
very
little
weird.
bit. Actually, I did one, and I thought, oh, this is a perfect role. I was an Italian mom. And,
Italian mom.
Yeah,
Nice.
well, I'm
Okay.
Italian background.
So it's perfect.
Yeah. So and then I just froze, and
It's just there.
I just froze. I forgot my line. Oh, and I was like so mad at myself.
Mm.
But anyway, they gave me another chance, and then it was very good. But I never heard back.
You know what
so-
I find most difficult about the Zoom auditions? It feels emotionless. So
Yeah.
when I have the reader giving me the lines
Yeah.
through the camera, I'm not feeling anything.
No, and they're just monotone.
Yeah.
Like they're not acting it out. So if you have somebody, because it's very important that you react to your line, and that's
Yeah.
what we do as actors. But if you're monotone and you're looking at the screen, it's tough.
It reminds
It's
me of
tough.
Nicolas Cage's acting when he delivers. You know? Right?
Yeah.
So he's like, I love you. And it's like, there's no meaning behind
Yeah.
it, right? You
Yeah.
got to really dig in and feel it
Exactly.
and use a half a tone and say, I love you to the, to.
Once it was in one of my classes where the last class she says, if you have an audition and you have to do a self-tape, we'll let you do it in class.
Yeah.
To
Yeah, a
submit.
lot of people are doing that now.
So I
Yeah.
said, oh, that was great. And the scene that I was doing, I knew all my lines and everything, was I was getting a divorce. So the person, which she usually was not in our class, but she came that night, she was my reader, and she was actually going through a divorce.
What are the
And-
chances? It's
oh
a
my
match
God!
made
And
in
she
heaven.
started crying, and
Oh.
wow! And I reacted to all that, so it wasn't her just reading the lines, and it was an excellent performance. I
you-
actually got the part after.
Good, yeah,
But
okay,
I'm saying,
good.
when you don't expect it, but that's what I'm saying. It's reacting to the other person, and
You
I
know what that's
reacted.
called? That's called embodying the character. So
Yeah.
when you do a biopic on someone, what you're doing is when you're doing the research is you have direct contact with the person that you're doing the biopic about, and you ask them, how did you feel in this moment, da, 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 and you align their spiritual energy to the character,
yeah.
and that's how you embody it
Yeah,
fully.
so important.
It happened to be that the stars lined up for you perfectly.
Yeah.
I had an audition where I had to play out of Toronto, where I had to play a character where he found out he was diagnosed with cancer. And then he wants to live his life to the fullest with his wife, who he wants to have a child with. And it's a very dramatic and heartbreaking story. Prior to that audition, I met two individuals who happened to go through cancer.
Oh, boy.
One of them was my brother's wife's mother. She ended up having cancer, but she survived. And she said, when I asked her, how did you feel when you received the news? Because part of the audition was you're receiving the news
Yeah.
from the doctor, right?
Yeah,
and there's a
yeah.
monologue.
Yeah.
She said it was a tough pill to swallow. And then the superintendent in my building, his friend ended up passing away from stage 5 cancer, very aggressive. And I asked him, how did your friend take that? If you don't mind me asking. And he said he took it really well. He said he appreciated the honesty from the doctors and he was in good spirits.
Right.
So for that audition, I had the devil on my shoulder or the angel. Which direction was I going to go?
Right.
I decided to make it interesting. I was like, I'm going to take this well, because they're not going to expect that. They're probably going to get 90% of the
Yeah.
auditions, trying to put on the tears and
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
else.
yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to accept it. I'm going to take it well. I took the risk, but I never booked the part,
Oh.
so it wasn't lined up like what you
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
But it was a very interesting experience. And it's weird because I find with acting, sometimes if you're thinking about, on social media, if you're scrolling and you see an actor's profile and you're like, okay, I've never worked with them. And then a week later or a month later, you end up getting a message from them, hey, let's work together. And it's it's funny how that works, right? How the universe sort of
Yeah.
presents these
Brings you
opportunities.
together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting, I find. Right? So I want to ask you special skills. Do you have a special skill or skills on your CV that helps you stand out amongst your competitors?
Special skills.
Yeah. So for example, on my resume, I have hatchet throwing and I have knife throwing. I have, fishing, working out, things like that.
I don't think I do actually.
Accents.
Accents. No, I mean maybe I do speak 3 languages. So
Oh yeah, which languages?
well, English, French, and Italian.
Nice. Are you fluent in Italian?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
My parents immigrated here from Italy. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever gone to Italy to sort
yeah.
of? Yeah. Which
number of
parts?
times. Well, my parents are from the Molise area, which is a couple hours from Rome. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've gone. I had family there, so I would go.
Would you ever want to go to Italy and try to explore the cinema life out there?
Not really.
No. Why?
First of all, it's just so different than here. And,
In what way? For example,
well, I don't know. I don't know the big cities because
No.
my parents are from a small town, and I think now the population is 3,000 people. So
It's a village,
everybody-
huh?
Yeah, it's a village. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where they grew up, and no, I never really thought of it. So
no.
no.
maybe life might present an opportunity for you to go.
Well, I don't have that many years
Yeah,
ahead, you know. I better get going then.
Doesn't hurt. You could start, you know, go over on a visa and, you know, go to open casting auditions or whatever and sort of see where
Well,
it
the
leads
thing
from
is,
there.
my Italian is what I've learned from, I mean, I never got educated in Italian, so it's what I've learned from home, and we have a
Yeah.
dialect, so I try and speak well, but, you know, if you go to Italy, they kind of make fun of you that your Italian's
Really,
not good
huh?
enough, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, because every region has their own dialect, so we have our dialect,
Yeah.
and, but, you know, I just actually went to a play where the village where my parents are from came to Montreal, and they put on a play at Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah. What are the chances of that?
Yeah, so I went to see it, and there was about 25 actors on stage,
Wow.
and it was a play that was based on a town with some of the sayings that my parents would say, so it was hilarious to hear it
Yeah.
again, you know, so you can relate to it.
A good experience
Yeah,
overall.
yeah, they were very
Yeah.
good actors.
So let's say 5 years from now, where do you see yourself in terms of your career for acting? Do you see yourself staying in Montreal, going elsewhere, possibly in Canada?
No, I'm staying in Montreal. My
Yeah.
family's here. My children are here. My grandchildren are here.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'll lead something, you know, I'll get a role, but I keep trying and I don't give up. It's not an easy...
How do you feel about the roles and the opportunities that are presented here in Montreal? Like, for example, the last 5 years, I've noticed a change. There's been less and less opportunities occurring, and
There's
you know,
there's less and less opportunity, I find, especially, you know, my age. It's either I'm too old for the role or I'm too young for the role.
so you're right in the middle.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle. Like, you know, they want 70, but I mean, I don't look 70.
no.
I could maybe play younger.
Yeah.
So it's tough. There's not that many roles to begin with. I've just done quite a few auditions for commercials.
Yeah, but commercials are commercials, though. It's different.
It's not the same thing. And
helps to pay the bills.
Yeah,
It
I just
doesn't-
exactly. It pays well, but you know, so it is tough. It's not easy.
Which is why, in my situation, I seeked representation out of Toronto. So she represents me worldwide.
Yeah, that's
right?
a very good idea.
I was very ambitious. I'm like, you know what? There's nothing against my agent here, but it's.
Yeah.
I seen how everything was dying down, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't wait forever. You know, I'm so ambitious. I want to just go for my goals.
I think you can't
So
just rely on Montreal.
no.
You know, if you can go
You
to
know,
Toronto,
yeah.
Vancouver, whatever, and
Yeah.
open things
Through
up.
her, you know, I've had auditions to go to Bulgaria, you know, Argentina, and things like that for 3 or 4 weeks. So,
Yeah.
you know, because I don't know, I find it sort of disrespectful to Montreal actors when you have a production coming here to film a project,
Yeah.
but they've casted 95% of their actors from
Exactly.
you know, elsewhere.
Yeah.
How are you helping support the artists
I've done
here in Montreal?
many auditions. I won't mention the
No,
show, but
no.
it was a show that was a TV series.
I've
that
probably auditioned for it as well. Yeah.
that was actually filmed here in Montreal, and I think I've done maybe 5 or 6 auditions for that TV series, and you know, didn't get the part, but it ends up being people from Toronto.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, like, you know, one of them were like 2-liners, like,
Yeah.
hey, I thought I was good, like, you know,
Yeah.
but you know, I didn't get anything. And then I actually watched the episode because I'm
see who it
curious
was,
who
yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
and it's nobody local.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I know
kind of
that's
tough.
another issue too.
Yeah.
Is when they're filming here, they'll ask, "Oh, Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto areas."
Yes.
And I'm like,
Well, from what I've
Wow.
been told is because they don't take the actors from Montreal is because they find we have accents.
"Yeah,
I
yeah."
don't know. And well,
I don't.
Toronto.
I mean, I'm not from
I don't
here,
know.
you know. So I'm from
Yeah.
Ontario.
Oh, okay.
Got-
Oh, so you don't have an accent.
I don't. No.
I don't know. I
So-
don't think I have an accent, but I've been told I do. So I don't know.
I mean, you don't have like a francophone accent, but you do have a slight Italian
Yeah,
accent
yeah,
there, but which
yeah,
is not a
something.
bad thing. I mean, accents are a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. It makes
makes us
people
who we are.
you are.
Otherwise,
Exactly.
we'd all be the same, right?
Exactly. That's the way I see it too. So, if you could change anything about the film industry here in Montreal, for better or worse, what would you want to change?
It would be nice if more stuff was filmed here in Montreal.
Yeah.
Right now, there's not that many projects going on.
What about projects in terms of like showing, you know, multicultural aspects? So like, you know, ethnicity wise, would you like to see productions with a lot of culture. Like when you walk around the streets in Montreal, look around.
Oh,
There's
I know.
so many
I
beautiful
know.
people everywhere from different places.
Well, you know, I find
Right.
that now, you know, they have to open it up to everybody and give everybody an opportunity. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe 10 years ago it wasn't the same, you know, they had
No.
a certain image of what they wanted as an actor,
Yeah.
but now it's opened up to a lot of diversity, which is only fair to other actors as well. So,
It sets a realism. It, you know, it represents real life.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think that would be sort
I
of,
don't know what the future's going to look like, but hopefully it'll be a little bit better and more stuff will be filmed here in Montreal. Give us-
AI is kind of getting a little scary.
oh my
I
God,
think it's
yeah.
ridiculous.
I
and
know. I know.
I don't know. I don't agree with it. I think AI should have its role in other purposes, but now they're starting to have, you know, AI artists, and I'm like, this is crazy.
I know, it is crazy.
What? Like,
It is
obviously,
crazy.
you don't even have to pay the AI artist, right? It's whoever's creating this artist
Yeah.
and whatever else is happening. There's an AI model that already has 100,000 followers on Instagram, blue check
Unbelievable,
verified, and they're
yeah.
getting ads for this AI artist, and I'm like, what is going on, right?
It's a
So-
changing world.
It is. It really is. One last question before we wrap things up. If I can give you a contract here with your dream role, past, present, or future, which role would you like?
Past, present, or future.
Yeah, could be any project.
Like I mentioned before, I would love to do a woman that makes a difference, a woman that has an impact, that you go see that movie.
So sticking to that role. It's,
Yeah, like, you know, walk out of there and say, wow, that was great. And if I had to go in history,
yeah,
I love Frida,
Frida.
the artist.
Yeah.
She was like, her life started in 1920s, and she was such an inspiration to women, and she was so ahead of her time. And well, I would love to play a role like that, like a woman that made
Something
such
very
a difference.
captivating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read her book, and I saw the movie. I went to, they had a beautiful exhibition here in Montreal, and what a woman! Like I would love to play a role like that.
Yeah.
That's somebody that, you know, was from the 20s, but you wouldn't think that she was so ahead of her time.
There's always one or two individuals in our history that's always so far ahead of their time, right? It's always like that, it seems like. And then people don't realize it till the events have occurred and things like that, and then they look back and, oh, she was right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes is one, though, and then it's sort of a new trend and whatever else.
Yes.
So you've studied for film and television, right? Mm-hmm. Theater as well. Obviously, that's how you first started getting into it.
Yeah.
Have you done any recent theater projects?
Yes, actually, I had a leading role in a play called Falling Apart last September.
Falling Apart? Okay. What's it about?
It was a play about the pandemic, and my character was Alina, who went through the pandemic and relationships, and she was going through a divorce at the same time that the pandemic was. So
Yeah.
it was a very
Sounds like a frustrating role because if
no, it was a beautiful role for me. It was my first role that I was the lead, and with different cultures. I was married to a Jordanian man in my character, and I'm being Italian, so there was some Italian in the play as well, which, you know, was easy for me speaking Italian.
Yeah.
But it was just about, you know, going through the pandemic, relationships with your father, with your best friend, and with your soon-to-be ex-husband. So
how long was the play?
the play was about an hour and a half.
Okay, so in terms of preparing for that role, how many months did you have to prepare, memorize the script?
Well, it took a few months.
Yeah.
We were there for a few months, and there was a lot of lines for me
Probably.
to
I mean,
learn.
that's
There was a lot. But, you know, I broke it down by each scene, and
yeah.
and, you know, people rehearse differently, but for me, I record myself, I say my lines over. But I have to tell you, the best way for me to learn lines is before I wake up in the morning in bed and
Yeah.
before I go to fall asleep.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but if I study my lines during the day for one scene, that night I will say it and I will remember every word. Don't know
yeah.
why. Before I fall asleep, and then sometimes I would fall asleep during some of the lines because some of the scenes were,
Lengthy.
And then before I get up in the morning, that was my exercise. I
Yeah.
would say them in bed.
That's actually one trick that works for me is
Really?
I'll rehearse my lines before I sleep. And when I wake up, I'm like, how do I know it all, right?
I thought I was the
Subconsciously,
only
I'm
one
going
that
through.
did that.
No,
Yeah.
no. But my mind keeps running. So even as I'm falling asleep, I'm rehearsing the lines and, I'll mess up on a few of the lines. But when I wake up, I look at it, I'm like, oh, I know it. I know it all pretty much, right?
It worked for me anyway.
Yeah.
So,
It's
I
a
was
good
a little
way.
bit nervous because, it was a big role, but it went very well.
Wow, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. That's a lot of hard work that you
Yeah.
put into it. And
Definitely.
I'm wishing you nothing.
And I have to add that there's nothing like, filming is great, but when you're doing a play, you have one opportunity. You screw it up,
But only
you're
you
on
know
stage.
that you screwed up.
Oh, yeah.
And your castmates. And
But the feeling of being on stage is still, I love theater. It's, it's exhilarating. The adrenaline's going. It's live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I did some live improv sessions, I would try to interact with the audience in the front row.
Yeah.
Because I want to bring them on the journey with me, right?
Oh,
So
well,
I would point at them. In theater, it's a little bit different, of course.
You don't want to look at anybody because you'll get distracted for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you
you.
so much for being here on the show. We're going to wrap it up right now. Thank you guys for tuning in to Rising Stars. I'm your interim host, Sean Watt. This production is sponsored by Urban Eats MTL. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Mary,
so much,
for
Sean.
being here. It was an
Thank you.
absolute pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
I'm wishing you nothing but the best for your future success, okay?
Thank you.